entered Boston Common, founded in 1634. This is where the site of Beacon Hill is. Anybody familiar with the Revolutionary War is familiar with Beacon Hill. It's got this kind of church in the background, giving you a panoramic of Boston Common. Big park kind of area. There's Claire walking off in the distance. And this is actually where the Freedom Trail starts, which we're going to check out later.
We are in Boston, and we are about to dig in and stuff our faces with Sal's Pizza.
That was right across the street from Boston Common, right over there.
It was very loud, and both of us chose to get 2 pieces, which are more like 4 pieces. And that's how they do it in Boston.
Yeah.
Let's
but
see.
It looks good though, and there's Boston Common around all the way.
You can tell I'm hungry because I said let's eat. Beautiful. Bill just gave me a lesson on how to eat messy, gigantic pieces of pizza. Apparently,
you fold it in half.
You fold it in half.
So it doesn't lose all its topping.
Let's see how it's done.
Fold it in half and...
Mmm. Tasty.
There's Claire with her headset. We're about to take a little walking tour of the Freedom Trail, learn about some history and stuff like that. And I got my headset on too, as you can see. So we'll kind of help you follow along. So I guess after Boston Common, first stop on our Freedom Trail tour is the new State House. So let's find out. Apparently the new State House, hey babe.
Hey honey.
The new State House sits on Beacon Hill, which was used in the 1600s, 1700s as an area where they would warn, they had a beacon. The hill was actually as tall as the building is now, but they had a beacon where they would warn people of attack. So the next stop on the Freedom Trail for us is the Park Street Church, which is an early 1800s church. Played a big role in the War of 1812, apparently. And they housed gunpowder and munitions in the basement crypt, which gave this corner the nickname Brimstone Corner. And also played a big role in the abolitionist movement. So that's the Park Street Church. Here is the sanctuary inside the Park Street Church. Apparently they also have an Adams Memorial in the Park Street Church. Big stained glass. We got other revolutionaries buried here too. John Hancock, Samuel Adams. Apparently this it says the burial ground. Paul Revere is buried here. This is the inside of the Granary Burial Ground. They have 3 signers of the Declaration of Independence are buried here. So we're going to go check them out. That's a familiar name. This is actually a monument to the parents of Benjamin Franklin, dedicated by Ben Franklin himself. This is the marker for the tomb of John Hancock. It wasn't put up until well after his death, but this is where John Hancock lies. Best known for his large signature on the Declaration of Independence. Here's Claire. Paul Revere's grave. And the last of the revolutionaries we've seen Here's the grave of Samuel Adams. Players learning about it. And this is King's Chapel, which was a church built for the Church of England in the 1600s, which coincidentally is right across the street from our hotel, the Omni Parker House. We're crossing the street. Founded in 1686. Wife sitting in one of the pews here inside the King's Chapel. And this is the sanctuary. This church was built in 1686. How about that pulpit? Way up above the congregation. So where are we now?
We're in a graveyard next to King's Chapel.
The King's Burial Ground.
Yeah.
This is the first burial ground in Boston, apparently. So. And now we've come to the Old South Meeting House, which was the largest building in colonial Boston. This is a site where meetings were held that led to the Boston Tea Party and other revolts against the British government. Old South view of the Old South Meeting House from the side. Kind of looks like a church. So what are we coming up to now on the Freedom Trail, babe?
The Old State House.
The Old State House. And what was the Old State House?
The Old State House is where all the officials used to meet.
Colonial governors. That's where they held office.
Colonial governors appointed by the British people, and then also the other people that were elected.
That's an excellent history lesson.
Thank you.
You should be a teacher. And that is the old. This is the Old State House that we're walking up to now. There's just a better view of the Old State House. We're about to go to the back side where the Declaration of Independence was first read to Boston and where they held the Boston Massacre. And we're now on the back side of the Old State House here in Boston. And that balcony right there is where the Declaration of Independence was first read to the citizens of Boston after it was signed in Philadelphia, July 4, 1776. And right across the street, in the little triangle we're standing in, this circular monument right here is the site of the Boston Massacre, March the 5th. And we're back where we were yesterday. Over there is Quincy Market, the statue of Samuel Adams, and in the background is Faneuil Hall. We're about to check back at Quincy Market. And little did we know yesterday how historic this area is. It was built in the 1820s and is actually considered, that's the North Market over there. Here's the South Market right here. But this is considered the oldest supermarket in America. And we're back at another familiar location. We were here eating last night at the Union Oyster House. The restaurant was established in 1826, but the building was actually built, apparently, according to the tape, in 1716. And it's the oldest restaurant in America. It's been a restaurant ever since it was built in 1826. And there's Claire just resting, because we're not sure where we're going next. We just gotta figure it out. But that's the Union Oyster House. Hey.
Hey.
Where are we now?
I don't know.
It's called the Blackstone Block.
That's where we are.
Sweetheart,
Yeah.
why don't you tell them where we're going next?
We are going to Paul Revere's house.
That's right, Paul Revere's house. We saw his grave earlier.
Yep.
But now we're going to see his house, I guess. So.
Where he actually lived.
Yeah, so we're on our way there now.
Yeah.
Now we've come to the Paul Revere House. According to what we were told, Paul Revere bought this house in 1770, but the house itself was actually built in 1680. You can see people are going in. It's actually a museum and tour house now, but it's the oldest home in downtown Boston. That's the Paul Revere House.